Welcome to the Wardrill Faction Dossier. My name is Sarv, and if you know the weekly meta report, this is its new sibling show. The weekly covers the whole field in one pass. The Dossier picks one faction and goes as deep as the data lets us go. The players, their lists, who they actually played into, and what the math says about all of it. First up, by request of absolutely no one and the joy of everyone involved, the Blood Angels. Sons of Sanguinius. Red paint, gold masks, jump packs, and a very specific plan. Get there fast and hit things. Before we dig in, the usual honesty. All of this is BCP data, grand tournaments of 5 or more rounds, and the edition is exactly 2 weekends old. 12 Blood Angels list is what the field gave us. That is a small sample, so treat every number here as an early read. One more bit of housekeeping. I read a lot of player names on this show straight off the tournament software. If I mangle yours, I apologize in advance. Correct me in the comments and I will get it right next time. But those 12 lists still played 61 real games of Warhammer against real opponents, and that is plenty to tell some stories. Let's open the dossier. The health check. 12 Blood Angels lists out of 443 so far. That's under 3% of the field, so this is a boutique army right now. The win rate sits at 49.5% across 61 games, which ranks 10th of the 24 factions with a real sample, almost exactly at the balance line. 5 of the 12 lists finished with a winning record. No event wins yet, 1 podium, and we will spend real time on it later, Brad Ledbetter, 3rd place at Road to Nova. 2 more wrinkles worth your attention. Week 1, the faction posted 53%. Week 2, with double the lists, it slid to about 48%. And here's the strange one. Out in the wider pool, the RTTs and the Opens, Blood Angels are at 43.7% across 44 lists. For most factions, the casual pool runs warmer than the GT pool. For Blood Angels, it runs colder. My read, and it is only a read, this army asks a lot of its pilot. Charge timing, screening, knowing when the trap is a trap. Reps matter, and it shows. Inside the faction, here's how the 12 lists split up. Liberator Assault Group is the most played at 4 lists, and it's holding its head above water at 52%. Rage Cursed Onslaught, the all-in Death Company detachment, 3 lists at 41%. It is swinging hard and coming up short, and we'll look at why in the reviews. Now the part I find genuinely interesting. 11th edition lets you pair detachments, and 3 different players took Legacy of Grace and bolted a different partner onto it. Brad Ledbetter went Grace plus Stormlance. Riel Long went Grace plus Bastion. Doug Weissmantle stacked Grace onto the Encarmine Spear Tip. 3 players, 3 partners, and a combined record of 10 wins, 5 losses. That's 67%. Small sample klaxon, 3 lists, but it is the strongest signal on the Blood Angels board. Grace seems to be the glue. At the bottom, Angelic Inheritors, 1 list at 20%. That one gets a full review too, because the idea deserved better than the weekend it had. Zoom out from the detachment labels, and the 12 lists collapse into 4 actual army ideas. Build 1, Jump Rush. Liberator Assault Group, Jump Infantry and Sanguinary Guard, the classic Angels Descending plan, 52%. Build 2, Full Rage. That's Rage Cursed Onslaught with maximum Death Company. It commits everything to the same violent turn, and it's sitting at 41%. Build 3, the Grace pairings we just talked about, 67 combined. Different partners, same core idea. Take the durability and support of Grace, then borrow a second toolkit. And Build 4, the Inheritor gun line. 1 list, 20 Hellblasters, Blood Angels choosing to stand still and shoot. 20% on the weekend. The army whose whole identity is the charge tried camping, and the dice filed a complaint. 1 build review each for Rush, Rage, and the gunline is coming, with the actual players attached. Now the units, and this is the table I'd screenshot if you're building Blood Angels this month. Sanguinary Guard are in 10 of 12 lists, usually 2 units, 416 points of gold on average. The Captain with Jump Pack is in even more, 11 of 12, the single most common pick in the faction. Those two are the spine right now. Here's where it gets useful. Look at the pilot win rates, meaning the average record of the lists actually running each unit. The Death Company Jump Package carries at about 55% across its 7 lists. The Assault Intercessors with Jump Packs and the Chaplains with Jump Packs who lead them both sit at 58. Meanwhile, the two most popular units in the faction, the Guard and the Captain, are carried by lists averaging below 50. Auto-includes are where win rate goes to hide, in every faction, so I do not read too much into that. But the Jump Chaplain package outperforming its popularity, that I believe. One sleeper, the Ball Predator. 4 lists took one, those lists average 60%. The old girl still has it. Numbers on screen for everything else, including the Gladiator Lancer, which is apparently the shooting unit you take so you can say you have shooting. Blood Angels are a leader attachment faction to their core, so here's who is actually holding hands with whom across these 12 lists. The Captain with Jump Pack joins the Sanguinary Guard 14 times, the single most repeated pairing on the sheet. Commander Dante takes that same Golden Bodyguard in the biggest builds. 4 of 12 lists run him. The double act of a Librarian plus a Sanguinary Priest inside Assault Intercessors showed up 3 times, and 2 of those are stacked in one list you'll meet in a minute. Chaplains with Jump Packs lead the Death Company 6 times, with Lamartise adding 4 more, and Asterath 1, because if anyone is allowed to babysit the angry ones, it's those 2. And Sanguinary Priests tucked into Blade Guard veterans, 6 times total, split evenly between riding solo and standing alongside a chaplain. If you use the Wardrill app, this is my honest tip for the week. Run the leader attachment drills on these exact pairs. Knowing what the priest actually adds to a brick without checking the card mid-game is free percentage. Matchups. This is every Blood Angels game we've captured so far. All event sizes, 139 games, so wider than the GT table, but the best matchup picture we have this early. Green Lanes first, Eldari, 4-0. Tyranids, 5-2. Sisters, 4-2. Necrons, 7-5 on the biggest sample of the bunch. The red is redder. Orcs, 4-8. Emperor's Children, 3-6. Custodes, 2-5. Thousand Sons and Grey Knights, 1-4 each. Votan and Demons, 0-4 apiece. And Imperial Knights, 1-5. Hold that one in your head for the next segment. Now the weather report, because a matchup table only matters against what people actually bring. Orcs are the second strongest faction in the meta right now, and they are everywhere. That 4-8 lane is a busy road. If you're taking the Sons of Sanguinius to an event this month, your practice games should probably be Green Tide first, Knights second. The Eldari and Tyranids lanes are where you bank wins. Calc Corner. This is the segment only Wardrill can do, because the app carries a full damage engine, the same one behind the heat map. So let's put the 1-5 Knights lane under the lamp and ask, can Blood Angels even kill a Knight? Scenario 1. 10 Death Company with Jump Packs, Lamartise attached, every buff on, charging Canis Rex. 22 expected damage into 26 wounds. That kills it about 27% of the time, and on average leaves it standing on 4 wounds, very annoyed. Scenario 2, the gold option. 6 Sanguinary Guard with Dante, same treatment. 29.6 expected damage. That is an 81% chance to remove Canis Rex in 1 activation. So the Anti-Knight Hammer exists, and it's the 1 in 10 of your 12 lists. And Scenario 3, for calibration, the same Death Company unit into 4 Custodian Guard wipes the squad 94 times out of 100. The math says the tools are fine. Elite infantry evaporates, and the gold brick genuinely kills knights. Which means 1 in 5 is a delivery story. Getting the charge, surviving the counterpunch, and picking which hammer swings at what. Keep that in mind when we get to the Giles review, because his list had none of these units. List review number 1, and it's the best Blood Angels result in the data so far. Brad Ledbetter, Road to Nova, 4-1, 3rd place. Legacy of Grace paired with Stormlance Task Force, on the Disruption posture. Look at the structure of this thing, because it's built from matching engines. 2 Assault Intercessor bricks, each with a Librarian and a Sanguinary Priest inside. That's the double leader block from the attachment map. Then 3 10-man Death Company jump squads, 2 of them with a Chaplain and the 3rd with Lamarties riding along to keep the angry ones pointed the right way. So 5 leader-wrapped infantry blocks, every one of them durable beyond its points thanks to Grace, and every one of them a problem the opponent has to solve separately. The support pieces are quiet and correct. Suppressors, a land speeder, 1 ball predator, and a small squad of jump pack assault intercessors to grab ground. There is no single expensive centerpiece here. No Dante, no gold brick. It's redundancy as a strategy. You can kill 2 of Brad's blocks and he still has 3 more doing the mission. Disruption fits it perfectly because the whole army wants to be in your face, making a mess of your plans. And here is how Brad's weekend actually went, round by round, because records never tell you who was across the table. Rounds 1 through 3. 100 points, 100 points, 100 points. Capped games against Necron's Canoptic Court, a guard pairing build, and then, round 3, Kirk Rottinger's Crusher Stampede Tyranids. That one deserves a highlight. Kirk finished 5th at 4-1, and his only loss of the entire event was this game, 100-45. Brad didn't just beat a good player, he handed the Stampede its whole weekend's damage in one sitting. Round 4, the ceiling. Lee Zagrebski on Lions of the Emperor plus Might of the Moritoi. If you watched our weekly report, that exact pairing is the best performing detachment build in the game right now, and Lee went 5-0 and won the event, 52-96. No shame in that scoreline against the eventual champion. And round 5, the bounce back. 100-45 over John Snyder's Warhorde Orcs, 3 trucks and a pile of beast snaggas, and John still finished 6th. That is the only Blood Angels win over Orcs on the GT tables so far, and it was a cap. Brad Ledbetter, 3rd place. Credit where credit is due, that is a genuinely well-piloted weekend. One note on posture, since people ask. Brad sat on Disruption every round, into a mix of Take and Hold and Purge, and every one of those pairings is a coin flip in the data so far. Don't credit the mission cards for this. The list and the pilot did it. Review 2 is the other end of the philosophy spectrum. Jason Thomas at the Hell Pit Grand Tournament, Rage Cursed Onslaught, Purge the Foe. This is maximum commitment to the bit. Commander Dante at the front. 2 full 6-man Sanguinary Guard units, and 3 Death Company squads, 20 Black Armored Marines, a 10 and 2 5s, with Lamarties in the big one, a Chaplain carrying the Carmine Reliquary, and a Death Company captain along for the ride. Nearly 1,300 points of this list actively wants to be in melee by turn 2. The supporting cast is thin on purpose. 1 Intercessor squad, Scouts, a Ball Predator, and a Repulsor Executioner as the single big gun. There is no Plan B in this army. Plan A is very convincing, and we just saw in Calc Corner what these exact units do when they connect. The question a skew list always has to answer is what happens on the weekend it meets the 2 armies that don't care. Jason's weekend is the skew experience in 5 acts. Act 1 and 2. The plan works. 100-54 over Death Watch, then 97-42 over Death Guard. When the rage connects, it connects. Act 3. Laned along Space Marines running Firestorm plus the Librarius Conclave. 38-94, and if that detachment name rings a bell, it should. The Librarius package was the Sharp Marine build we flagged in the weekly report, and it's exactly the kind of army that can screen, trade, and out-tempo a one-note charge. Act 4. Matt Peterson's Votan, with 600 points of Chthonian Berserks waiting in the middle of the table. 56-100. Remember the matchup board. Votan are 0-4 against the Blood Angels so far. A wall of 4-wound bricks that hits back is a horrible date for Death Company. And Act 5. The Poetry. A 50-50 draw against Necrons. Dead even. 2-1 on the weekend. My honest takeaway? This build's wins and losses are both loud. It probably needs one more tool for the armies that refuse to die on the first swing, and I suspect that's why Rage Cursed sits at 41%, while the Grace builds float above 60. And no alibi in the postures. Jason was on Purge the Foe all 5 rounds, and his loss to the Librarius Marines was a straight Purge mirror. Same cards on both sides, so the game, not the mission, decided that one.
Review 3, and I picked this one deliberately. Michael Giles at the Indie Open, Angelic Inheritors, Priority Assets. 1 in 4. We are covering it because losing lists teach more than winning ones, and because Michael tried something genuinely different. Shooting Blood Angels. 20 Hellblasters as the core, each squad with a Sanguinary Priest to keep them standing. Mephiston, the Sanguinor floating around, Inceptors dropping in, a Vindicator, and Assault Terminators for the counterpunch. On paper, I get it. Hellblasters put out real damage, the priests make them stubborn, and everything else guards the castle. And credit where it's due, parts of this list genuinely understand the detachment. The Inceptors and the Sanguinor are exactly what Angelic Inheritors wants. Unto the Burning Skies pulls a jump pack unit back into the skies at the end of your opponent's fight phase, and the Sanguinor is the one model allowed to do that straight out of combat. Those 2 picks show real intent. But here's the tension, and Calc Corner already spoiled it. This list has 0 Sanguinary Guard and 0 Death Company. The 2 units that actually kill big things in this faction stayed home. So every heavy target the opponent brings has to die to overcharged plasma, at range, through cover, while the army gives up the mobility that makes the Sons of Sanguinius who they are. The run tells a kinder story than 1 in 4 suggests, right up until it doesn't. Round 1 against Necrons, 61-70. Round 4 against more Necrons, 53-73. Those are close, winnable games. The one win was convincing, 90-57 over Custodes' Shield Host, which is a good scalp given the Blood Angels are 2 and 5 into Custodes so far. Thousand Suns handle him in round 3, and Tommy Foist's Hex Warp build finishing that game at 100 points tells you how that one went. And then, round 5. BC Swain, Imperial Knights. 6 Armiger Warglaves, 3 Helverins, a Night Warden, and a Gallant. 11 Knights. 44-99. Go back to our Calc Corner. The tools that kill Knights are Sanguinary Guard with Dante and Death Company with the Charge. This list brought overcharged plasma and hope. 11 Knights against 20 Hellblasters is a math problem with one answer, and it's why the Knights lane reads 1 in 5. Credit to Michael for playing the idea at a real event, close games most of the weekend, and honestly, one list trying plasma so the rest of us don't have to is a public service. The data thanks you. Posture-wise, there is nothing to blame here either. Michael was on priority assets throughout, 2 of his losses in flat coin flip pairings, and the numbers do not hand him a mission card excuse. The Hellblasters did that on their own. Quick pause before the crystal ball. If this deep dive format is useful to you, a like and a subscribe genuinely moves the needle for a channel this size, and it tells me to keep making these. Everything you saw today, the win rates, the matchup lanes, the damage math, lives in the Wardrill app, refreshed every week. Paste your own list in, and the same engine that ran our Calc Corner will tell you what your units actually kill. iOS and Android, links below. And to my Patreon supporters, you specifically are why a one-person stat show gets to exist. Thank you. Before I sign off, 3 predictions for the next Blood Angels dossier, on the record so you can grade me. 1. The Grace Pairings, 67% on 3 lists today. If that sample triples and the number holds north of 55, that's the build, and I expect the field to copy Ledbetter's homework. 2. Rage Cursed Onslaught at 41. Skew detachments either adapt the tool for the brick armies or they fade from the tables. I think we see fewer pure 5-squad builds and more Dante plus Grace hybrids. And 3. The Orcs lane at 4 and 8. Orcs are getting play everywhere, so that lane decides more Blood Angels weekends than any other.
If red is above 45% into green next dossier, the faction's whole number climbs with it. Those are my 3. Come back and hold me to them. One last thing before the dossier closes. Thank you to my Patreons, and especially our Magos operators, the names on your screen right now. You keep the Cogitator running, and shows like this one exist because of you. Thank you. That is the Blood Angels faction dossier in the books. Blood Angels, dead on the balance line, a clear best build emerging in the Grace pairings, a gold hammer that genuinely kills knights, and 2 red lanes, orcs and knights, that will decide whether this faction climbs. To the pilots we covered, Brad Ledbetter, Jason Thomas, Michael Giles, and all 12 players flying the banner of Sanguinius in the early data, good hunting, and thank you for the data. Now, this show is an experiment, and you're the playtesters. Was this deep enough? Too deep? Which faction should sit in this chair next? Orcs and Imperial Knights are both loaded in the Cogitator already, so tell me in the comments. As always, the data shows you what's winning. Reps on the table are what make it yours. This is Sar from Wardrill, signing out. See you at the next transmission.